just wanted to say thank you to everybody yesterday who was supporting me in my Facebook group. Rosie could not walk yesterday morning when she woke up. She was almost completely lame and it was a rough day. So today she's feeling better. I'm doing a tribute to my kitties. And these are my references. This is from my Pinterest board. I have a Cool Cats Pinterest board. You can look under Cool Mama Karen or Karen Campbell Artist, and you can see my Pinterest boards. So these are some of my favorite illustrations that I found. And look at this one. That is so rosy. And look at this. My 9-year-old Max came home from school yesterday and he had drawn this. And I don't really know if I've seen anything so cute in my entire life. So today I'm doing my first self-portrait, mixed media style. And I'm going to be holding Big Fat Zoe here, and then I always wear my hair in like a messy, gross top knot, and I'm going to have a little Rosie girl kind of nestled in my top knot. And that is going to be my project for today. Wish me luck. I'm going to need it. So in this project, this journal is seeing better days. The cover was starting to fall off of it, so I spent about a half an hour like shoring up all the pages that I have yet to color, which is about, I don't know, 6 to 8 pages maybe. And I just had my masking tape out. And I've done this in the past where I just masking tape over the whole entire spread. I think I saw Jane Davenport do this, I don't know, years and years ago in one of her workshops. And I tried it and I was a little bit hooked. So I just do the whole spread and then I cover it in gesso and let it dry. And I can't even explain to you why I love doing this so much. I've done it maybe 3 journal spreads. It's very satisfying. It creates like a nice uniform texture. And it accepts paint very well. I was like looking for paint palettes and I found these little pockets in my stash, and so I was like, I don't know what I'm going to use this for. So I just took some craft spray adhesive and just put that on there kind of for later. I was kind of envisioning maybe making some little paper mice and like tucking them down in there. But that was sort of yet to be determined. Again, at this point in all of my art, I am just playing. I have my references, but it's like I'm not ready to commit. I see those colors there in the left-hand side of the screen is what I think I'm going to end up doing, and I ended up not using any of those colors. So I love to change my mind mid-project and just go with the flow. I am a huge fan of I just love the fact that when I'm doing my art, I get to do whatever I want. And if I get to change my mind, I change my mind, and I never feel bad about it. I just do things because and only because they feel good. I don't know if that's like artistic, but that is why I journal, and that is why I do art, because it makes me feel good. That, and I'm always trying not to have to do my housework because I hate it. So if this puts it off for another 2 hours, awesome, then mission accomplished. So that is really also why I do art. So this is this awesome Tim Holtz paper that I got. Actually, I got it as form of payment for being published in the Stampington and Company Green Craft magazine. They said, do you want money or do you want art supplies? And I was like, oh, that's a tough one. I'm going to go with the art supplies. So I got this gigantic bin of things that I got to pick out, which was awesome. And I haven't used half of them. So this is this magnificent paper, and it is fantastic for collaging. I do have that in some other prints that I had before, so I knew how awesome it was, which is why I got it in some different flavors, if you will, and I love it. So I decided to reach for my Distress Stains, also a Tim Holtz product, which I haven't used in like a long time. Also thoroughly satisfying. I just am squeegeeing it out and rubbing it in with my fingers. It does reactivate, but I find if you rub it in really well and dry it, it's not like the sprays, the spray inks that are like super psychotically water soluble. These stay put a little bit better. So I just rub it in and then they dry, excuse me, and then we're good to go. I wanted to push back some of that print because I knew that I was going to do a painting on top, and I didn't quite know if I wanted, how much of it I wanted to show through on her skin or clothes. So I'm knocking it back a little bit with the gesso. Gesso, adding it on with a brayer is like an old-fashioned mixed media technique that you'll find probably 99% of mixed media artists do, and it's because it works. It's just a great way to get like a nice even spread. And I don't ever clean my brayers. I used to struggle with that and used to try to clean it in like soap and water, and I was just like, this is just stupid. It's just gonna just gunk up anyway. So I stopped cleaning my brayers long ago. I have about 4 of them, and I just gunk them up and don't feel bad and move on. So I'm using my reference from Pinterest, like I mentioned earlier. Again, I used to never use references, and I find that they just help me struggle a lot less. I also find that I do have to make a concerted effort to really then make sure that I am creating something that is my own. So using it for very specific reasons, like her own arm holds, and combining the references in a meaningful way so that at the end result is always my own. That's very important to me. I don't want to be like a stupid copycat artist, and it's just important to me that I'm doing my own thing. So it took me a while to get this little kitty, right, who's going to be Zoe, because the reference I'm using is actually facing the other way. So I turned my paper backwards, as you can see, and I'm shining it up through the light. I'm using an Inktense pencil for kind of no apparent reason. I like them because you can erase, quote unquote, erase by just taking a baby wipe and wiping them away. They are supposed to be permanent once you've activated them with water or liquid. I don't find them too tremendously permanent though. But, I decided in my work, I kind of just have let go of the messy. I'm like the opposite of OCD anyway, so it doesn't bother me to have like random lines shooting everywhere, and it's just sort of part of the process. It shows the process. So I don't sweat all that scribble scrabble that's there right now. That will probably send a lot of people over the edge, but I just know and trust that will be somehow magically incorporated into the end result at some point. And so I just move on. There's no sense worrying about it. Everything you can kind of just make work later. And I just kind of try to get in the flow and do my own thing. Now I wouldn't say this is a self-portrait, but it is kind of supposed to be me because it's my kitties. I was sort of debating. I had to run to the grocery store like after I was taping and prepping, and then before I started drawing, and I was like, do I actually get a reference of myself and like really try to make this a self-portrait? And then I was like, no, because I know it's not going to really look like me anyway. So it is self-inspired and not a true self-portrait. But this is the first time ever in my entire life, ever, where I've actually depicted myself, which is pretty weird, and I'm kind of okay with that. As long as we don't make this like a daily ritual, that would just be narcissistic and weird. But this was really a tribute to my fur babies. Rosie has had just like the worst time of it, poor girl. And just so you know, I put gelato down, and then I'm mixing MAC Medium over it. That's what that is. So gelato, matte medium. I've been using a lot of gelatos lately and just using them dry, and I was just reminding myself the other day that you can actually activate them and use them wet, which I never do. So it's kind of just giving it a shot. The coverage is pretty bad, so I don't think I'm going to continue that trend, but I did just do that to try it. This is just black gesso. I love it because it's really matte, which sometimes I like glossy and sometimes I like really matte stuff, and so today I went with a matte. Otherwise, my go-to black is Liquitex Basics Black, which is kind of miraculous. It's super opaque, which is like what I love about good acrylics is that it's opaque. Even though it's a basic, it's very good quality. Anyways, poor Rosie is my rescue kitty. I did like a documentary on how we rescued her. She's the cutest freaking thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And she had like this massive infection when she was found, and like they resurrected her from the dead, and she couldn't use her back legs, and we have her. She had, poor thing, had like fleas, and she was like a hot mess. And now she has this Calicium virus, which is like a really severe common virus that kittens can get who are in the wild. all cats are vaccinated against it, and she somehow slipped through the cracks, and she has been sick as a damn dog. And so, yeah, so this is dedicated to my fur babies because I love them so much, and I just love them. So anyways, blah, blah, blah. I'm using my Tombow watercolor markers. I don't know if they're watercolor markers, but my Tombow markers, which are massively water soluble and massively equally satisfying to use. So I scrubble on some colors, and then this time I use gesso to activate them. Usually I would just use water. I regret using the gesso. Well, I guess it ended up being okay because it added a little bit more opacity. So her face, my face, I guess, weird, would be not quite so transparent. I don't mind things showing through, and sometimes I love a lot of, text and whatnot showing through. But yeah, at this point I'm just throwing things down. I'm experimenting and playing because I'm a little afraid to commit. So when I get a little afraid and I sort of stall by like just using random products and seeing what happens, and then it kind of draws out the process. I'm just drying everything. I normally don't show my dry time, but evidently I forgot to cut the camera off, so there you go. A lot of time. I usually dry between all my layers, and I just don't show it because that's super boring. So the next step I'm going to do is get a picture of my Rosie Rose, because she's going to be nesting peacefully while she's still little enough to fit in my messy bun. Oh, shush, my baby girl. All right, so I'm using also another Inktense in like a gray. And just trying, I'm obviously not making her like super correct, but just trying to make her somewhat, look like her a little bit, so I know that's my baby girl. So I'm using Winsor Newton watercolor markers. These are luscious and yummy and delicious, and I love them. They throw out a ton of pigment. And again, I'm using the gesso to activate them. So, anything that's water soluble, you can really activate with whatever liquid that you want, right? There's no rules. So you could use water, you could use matte medium, you could use gesso, you could use regular paint. Anything wet is going to activate these suckers. And so sometimes I just, forget what things look like or want to see what happens. And so I just throw something wet at them. Today, the wet thing I'm throwing at my watercolor markers is gesso. And it's all blending. It's a little messy. And so I'm just kind of leaving it to dry, and I'll go back to it. So for my hair, I'm using just regular old acrylic by Lucas. And I do wear my hair like this like 90% of the time because I just am lazy and I never blow dry it. Throwing some of the same color in my Rosie girl, so we match. No, she really does have that color. But yeah, I didn't overwork any of this. This is not a masterpiece. This is still in my journal, right? I'm not selling this to anybody. This is just for me, very personal. So I can be and give myself permission to be messy and loose. And I don't care. This is just white acrylic. She was looking very muddy, so just getting some acrylics going. White acrylic versus gesso because it's much more opaque and actually white, and throwing in some lighter colors to differentiate her so she's not the exact same color as I am, so that way you can see her. I decided at this point I wanted to just use red, so there's a pop of color in here. I never wear lipstick. I have worn lipstick, I think maybe 5 times in my entire 41 years of life. Yep. That's right. So that's very unrealistic. I know this is also not me because my arm is like 6 times bigger than that one. So that's why I know for a fact this is not anatomically correct or me. But it is based on my spirit. So yeah, just throwing some red on there. And I have this. I didn't use my Stabilo today. I did not use my Stabilo in the making of this project. This is a General USA's, it is like a Scryball, so it is just like a Stabilo, but it is not quite as water soluble, which I just know from life and using them. So I like it when I want the solubility, but without the extra drama and insecurity that the Stabilo always provides when I'm using it. I could have totally used the Stabilo all over Zoe and throughout this project, but honestly I couldn't find one, so I just sometimes oftentimes I don't plan. I just reach for whatever is closest, and today this is what was closest, so that's what I'm using. There it is. Confessions of a Hot Mess Artist. Boom. So Mod Podge, always. This brush was way too fat, so I ended up just chucking it to the side and using a thinner one just to finish up. And again, I always use Mod Podge in every journal page because there's so many layers. I need it for two reasons. One is it really helps to make sure it stamps down. You guys, remember all the tape under there? There's like tape and collage and paint. And this assures me that everything will just get like smashed down into one cohesive piece. So there you have it, Mod Podge. Plus it activates all my cool water soluble things under it too and smears them and makes them permanent. It fixes all those Inktense markers and makes some cool effects with anything that's water soluble, and then again it like becomes permanent. So love it. These are some stencils I bought at Tuesday Morning. If any of you guys have Tuesday Mornings in your hood, you have got to go check them out because they seriously have mixed media stuff all the time. I have gotten so many paints and stencils and markers and these crazy finds. I would never think to go there. I never had one in where I was growing up in New England, but I don't know if that's what they're now because I've been in North Carolina for 10 years, but they have some serious art supplies. And so I have like a giant stash of stencils I've never even opened, so that's what those are from. These cool vintage hearts. I actually wish I hadn't outlined them. Now I look at them, they look so nice. The only drawback to doing these videos is when I replay them, I'm like, oh, I should have stopped right there. It's a little like after regret. But anyways, blah, blah, blah. You know my next step is going to be my Pitt pens, right? Because that's always my step after I Mod Podge is to paint with my Pitt pens. So there's some good flesh colors. A lot of people have asked me which ones I buy. I do recommend the flesh tone pack. And again, the fat ones are just the same as the skinny ones. So don't worry if you can't find the big fat ones. Because it's all good and they all work the same. I do love the brush tip though, however. Making my eyebrows, which are very sparse and do kind of look like that. I was remarking to myself how anatomically correct my eyebrows were. All right, I couldn't find my favorite smaller Pitt pen in the black, so as you saw there, I have a dozen. I bought like the dozen pack of the Pitt pen blacks, and I actually really just prefer the blacks, like small brush. But I didn't want my face to be super dramatic and outlined it in bolds. That is also not my eye color. I do have sort of gray eyes, but they're not anywhere this blue, which is a little crazy, but too late now. I actually tried to take some of that. I just dabbed it with my finger to try to remove some of it because I'm like, whoa, that's way too dark. But I do love that navy against the red lips, so whatever. This is just for me, so it doesn't matter. All right, so again, I'm just taking my black Pitt pens and I'm just outlining, shoring up. And again, to see how you can see like my General USA's and all my other scrubby Inktense lines are still there, but they're under my new fresh bold marker lines. And I love, frankly, the combination of both. Look at Rosie, so cute. So I'm just going in and outlining her. I love to outline things. That's the drawer and the illustrator in me. It's always kind of fighting with the painter in me. And I get carried away with that Pitt pen every blasted time. I just cannot stop doodling once I have it in my hand. And I finally bought my first replacement Pitt pen was the white. It's not as opaque and bold and shocking as the Sharpie, which is my go-to for sure. But this whole piece is a little bit more subdued than my normal pieces. It's kind of about love and squishy fur babies. And I wanted the whole thing to be a little less dramatic than it normally is. And I think I did achieve that, so that made me happy. I did have to throw in some kind of bolder lashes because who doesn't love a bold lash, you know what I'm saying? but we're getting to the end here. I'm just gonna go in and deepen up some shadows, and also put some gesso. This is just white gesso, and this is a great trick or tip when you're trying to get your whatever feature it is you're drawing on your painting or your journal page to pop a little bit. If you just kind of blend a light layer of gesso around the whole thing, kind of creates this like halo effect, so you don't lose your background, but you are kind of like saying the background to be like, shh, like, can you quiet down, there's a main subject trying to come out, thank you so much. So yeah, that's what that kind of halo of gesso does. And just popping in some more highlights. I do go back in. Oh, I forgot this step. This is really satisfying and fun. A great way to add some edginess to any piece is to just take your stamp pad, and I literally am just rubbing it along the edges there and quite a few inches onto the inside too. It picks up the tape seams and some of that texture, and it really just accentuates it, and it makes it look really cool, I think. So I'm just taking a 1 shade darker of that flesh tone just to give a little bit more drama and interest and contrast between the skin tones. And I realized I was sort of flat. I was so focused. There's a lot going on in this piece. I don't normally have animals. I should. I love them. And I'm usually have like a girl and a hand, or a girl and nothing, and a face and nothing. And so there's a lot going on in this piece. A lot more in the background than I normally have. 2 animals. So I didn't give as much attention to the face as I normally would, but actually, it's not really about the face in this one, it's about the whole composition. So I'm very pleased with how it turned out, just adding some extra highlights. Oh my god, there's that picture that my son did. I think that is like the cutest thing in the whole world. It comes to find out that he did not want me to have that, so he instructed me to take it out, make a copy, and he wants the original. Little bugger. That's so Max. So I'm not allowed to use that one, so I'm gonna have to I'm gonna make scan it and make a copy and put that in there, because it's the sweetest thing in the whole entire world, and that really is kind of forever mine in there. So yeah, if you guys have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to leave them in the comment section. And to everyone on my Facebook group, Awesome Art School, thank you so much for your kind support. I kept this off my regular Facebook feed because I'm, quote unquote friends with a lot of people I don't really know, but my Facebook group is like my girl tribe, and I love each and every one of you, and you guys know who you are. And my YouTube tribe as well. My YouTube, you guys kind of rock. I love you guys, and I appreciate all your support when my kitty was sick and I was blabbling about it, and everyone's just been really kind, and I really just appreciate you guys very, very much, both in and out of my my art world, my personal life as well. So thank you guys. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. I have weekly videos all the time that are mostly never mushy and sentimental like this one, but this one was very dear to my heart as my little Rosie girl's been so sick, but she is getting better. So thank you so much from Rosie and Zoe. Thank you for watching. And again, if you have any questions, fire away. I'm here for you guys. Love ya so much. Bye-bye.